Nestled quietly away in the city of New Plymouth is a slice of wild New Zealand called Te Kaianga Marire. Meaning peaceful encampment in Māori, Te Kaianga Marire is the love child of Valda Paletti and Dave Clarkson. It's an extraordinary garden because back in 1972, Valda and Dave bought the half-acre site as a clay wasteland that could barely support gorse. Today, this serene site bordering the Taranaki stream has featured on the BBC's Around the World in 80 Gardens. It has also been recognised as a garden of national and international significance by the New Zealand Gardens Trust. Barely 2 kilometres from the Tasman Sea and exposed to winds from all directions is actually a sheltered oasis known as Oakley Garden. As with many of Taranaki's premier gardens, it started as a bare paddock before people with a lot of vision and determination and a simple love of gardening came along. Jenny and Guy Oakley moved onto their exposed 10-acre property near Manaia in South Taranaki some 20 years ago, and today it's breathtaking in its plant colour combinations.
We started with a bare paddock and very little shelter, so the big thing was creating some shelter from the southeasterly wind, which carries a lot of salt spray and is so damaging to plants. We had a little house in the site where it is at the moment, but we added onto it and opened the garden up to the north to let sun and warmth into the house, and we wanted the garden north facing, so that's how things started.
Being a qualified horticulturist and a former manager of the renowned Hollingard Gardens in South Taranaki meant that Jenny had the knowledge and flair to create this garden of national significance. If the majestic Mount Taranaki was the crown of the Taranaki region, then the biggest jewel in that crown would be Pukeiti Garden. Located at 500 metres above sea level on the lower slopes of the mountain, this 360-hectare rainforest is home to simply one of the finest rhododendron collections in the world. Established in 1951, the garden's rich volcanic soil, subalpine location and good rainfall is just perfect for growing a colourful collection of rhododendrons and companion plants. Called a garden for all seasons, there are now literally thousands of varieties of rhododendrons, camellias, azaleas and magnolias on display.
The amount of flora within Pukeiti is quite extensive. Over the last 40 years we have been trying to build a collection that covers all seasons of the year. So we have our natural forest which we sit in amongst, and at last count there was over 200 different species of native plant, and a biodiversity study is currently underway to see if there are any more or any less than the numbers first thought. There's approximately 10,000 different rhododendrons within the park, which is made up of hybrids and species. And then we also have large collections of camellias, herbaceous plants, hostas and bluebells and the like, and hydrangeas to carry our season through so that we're a garden for all seasons of the year.
Pukekura Park is one of New Zealand's oldest and grandest gardens, first opening its gates back in 1876. The park is now a 52-hectare wonderland that's open free of charge every day of the year. Within its green borders are walkways wandering through dense native bush, leading to native and exotic tree collections, and meandering through colourful hidden dells, as well as broad sweeping lawns.
You can't see it all in one go. You've got to explore it and move from one area to another area, and there's tracks going in all sorts of directions, so you're looking and exploring, and new areas are opening up as you move around it. Well, it's a huge range of flora in here, and we've got the formal areas like Brooklands, where we've got large specimen trees, herbaceous borders, and formal bedding plants on display there. And then you come down through the park, and you've got a mixture of native plantings and exotic trees and shrubs all sort of blended through together. And then you come into the fernery, and I mean, we've got, one of the houses there has a terrific collection of native ferns, because it's a cool, damp part. And then you move up through the fernery and you get up to the top house here where we're at the moment, and it's full of subtropical plants and orchids and that sort of thing.
Family traditions run deep at the Jury Garden located on the sunny northern stretches of the Taranaki region. This garden of national significance is sited on land that has been in the Jury family since the colonial period of the late 19th century. Today, more than 120 years later, it's still owned by a Jury descendant who has a worldwide reputation as a plantsman.
The Juries have been farming in this area for probably, since 1880s anyway, in this particular area, my great-grandfather. And he planted the biggest trees that you see around here, the remus and the big Pinus radiata. But the garden itself wasn't really started until the early 50s by my mother and father. Presently the garden would be about, intensively gardened area of about 6 to 7 acres. The area under the remus is the unique area, and it really does, as a first impression, it really hits people. They're in a sort of subtropical wilderness almost environment, which always comes as a surprise to people. They also particularly like the park area with the big expanse and the stream running through it. People come out of there feeling very rested and peaceful and very calm. So probably from that's the area that's probably most liked.
Hollingard Gardens, located in the agricultural farming country of South Taranaki, reflects the life work of one of the region's early dairy farmers. Soon after Bernie Hollard took over his dairy farm back in 1927, he decided to fence off a section of native bush to explore his love of gardening. That love soon became all-consuming, and before long he had put share milkers on his farm, so he and his wife Rose could devote all their time to developing their garden. Now, more than 80 years later, Hollard Gardens live on as a monument to their passion, patience and horticultural skill.
The garden was started in the bush remnant. A lot of this area was cleared in the 1880s, and there was a swampy bit of bush that wasn't burnt off, and Bernie started gardening there, and it just really grew from the bush.
The old garden was Bernie's original woodland garden and features intimate gardens, hidden paths and even a swamp garden. Here you will find colourful exotic species flowering in a native New Zealand bush setting. The new garden features open expansive lawns and broader paths, winding past plant specimens from all over the world.